In today's video, we're going to be looking at the subject of buy, refurbish, refinance, all on coffee and property. Welcome back to Coffee and Property, the new revised version of Coffee with GPA, where we explore some awesome coffees and we get to learn a little bit more about the property industry and how you can become an investor here in the UK. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and also give any feedback, leave comments, leave questions, get involved. Let's make this all about the whole community. Let's see how we can help each other improve as we build our own portfolios. So first of all, coffee check for this video. We've got an awesome coffee here from Dark Arts Coffee. I would argue probably one of my favourite roasters in recent history. Now this is part of their subscription, so this is an El Salvador coffee. Absolutely awesome, super creamy, super biscuity. It's everything that you'd expect from a really well-rounded, really fully flavoured filter coffee. So this is priced at £31.50 from Dark Arts Coffee. This is also in the description below. And the subscriptions are absolutely phenomenal. So if you want coffee every week, every other week, 5 times a week, whatever you need, the guys at Dark Arts have got it all fully covered. Not a sponsor of this channel yet, however, really good coffee that I've been subscribing to for a good number of years now. So, on to the subject of BRR. Now, if you're in property or you're experiencing it for the first time, you'd probably have heard of the BRR method, buy, refurbish, refinance. So it's the idea of finding a property, buying it, refurbishing it, and then refinancing it to take the money out to then move on to the next deal. We also call this at Harvey Bowes momentum investing. Now this is where you can keep building momentum, keep taking money out, keep buying again, because it's a great way of building a portfolio quickly and building a portfolio to suit how you want to replace your income going forwards. So how does this actually work? Well, let's look at a couple of different things. So in today's video, we're going to explore how you would fund this using a bridging loan or how you'd fund it using a mortgage, and also what would happen if you're a first-time investor and you've never done this before. So let's think about that idea of the first-time investor. So as a first-time investor, you may or may not own your own home. You may or may not have been working with a mentor, or you've been following another mentor or someone on YouTube, for example. But if you want to learn more about this very specific subject, then there is a fantastic mentor called Harvey over at Growth Properties. Now, I've been talking to Harvey probably for, well, in fact, all of my property career so far, certainly for the last 4 or 5 years. And his knowledge is spectacular. Now, he specialises in remote investing based in the north east of England, but he does also do a lot where we're based in South Wales, and that seems to be a bit of a hot topic for him at the moment. So again, I'll leave a listing below so you can contact Harvey so you can learn a bit more about what he does. But if you're a first-time investor and people like Harvey, maybe Samuel Leeds, maybe you've been to a PIN meeting around the country, they'll give you an idea on how you can make this work. So what happens with funding for a first-time investor? Well, if you've never bought a property before, this might come as a little bit of a daunting subject. But the key thing here is that if you're buying a property to refurbish and then refinance, there's a couple of ways of doing this. First of all, on a bridging loan. Now, bridging really is the key to getting properties ready for a long-term mortgage. A bridging loan is short-term finance. It's your way of going from point A to point B by bridging that gap in the middle. So how would this work? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. First and foremost, you can use a bridging loan to purchase the property. Secondly, if you choose to, you can use a bridging loan to raise the funds to refurbish the property as well, what we call a drawdown facility. Now, this might mean that you can get usually 70% of the value of the property on day one, and then you get the works funds, whatever that chunk would be, up to 100% of that in facilities that are drawn down subsequently. So you might do £10,000 worth of works, the lender would then authorise payment back to you, you would then do the next 10,000. They would then authorise payment back, next 10,000, etc. Usually, lenders are quite happy to lend anywhere from £10,000 upwards for works. And we work with so many lenders that you've got a plethora of options that you can utilise in this field. Now, bridging is interesting. It can be expensive. So if a property only requires a very minor refurb, you want to consider if this is actually going to pay. Bridging lenders will normally deduct all of the interest for the term of that loan on day one. Now this means if you've got a 12-month bridging loan, the lender will look at 12 months worth of interest and deducts that at the very beginning of your loan process, which means you actually get less money when you get that loan come through. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why would I do this? Why does that benefit me? Think about it this way. You've got a refurb going on where you've got the property untenanted, you're not getting an income for it. If you was paying a payment every month, you would then be having to try and catch up all the way through, because no tenant means no income. No income means that you're the one footing the bill for paying all of that interest. So when the lender deducts it at the start, it means that you've got no payments to make throughout the term of that loan. So yes, it's a bit of a pain by all of that going at the beginning, but yes, it's advantageous because you've got nothing to pay for until you clear the loan. It then means if you get the works done early, you've then got the ability to claim some of that interest back if you haven't used it. Now, I'm not going to go into the A to Z of bridging in this video because it is quite an involved subject. So what I would urge you to do is drop me an email. All of my contact details are underneath this video and we can talk it through, or feel free to give me a call. So what about if you want to do it on a mortgage? Slightly more complicated because most mortgage lenders aren't really that happy for you to do any works to a property whilst you're on the term loan. Now, this means that usually a bridging loan or a cash purchase comes into play at that stage. But there are certainly some mortgage lenders that will lend and allow you to do works. Now, I'm going to just, I won't say names of lenders, but there are lenders out there at the moment who have the ability to give you very specific plans in terms of how you can get a property ready. Now, there's one lender in particular that we do a huge amount of work with, and they have a clause in their policy that says that you have 28 days to get a property ready to be rented when you complete on it. Now, what you're not doing here is putting yourself in a position to convert a property. You're not making an HMO out of this product. But if you've just bought a property and you're looking to, say, do a bit of decorating, change the carpets, change the flooring, maybe even do a bathroom, if it can all be done in that 28-day period, the lender will allow you to do those works in order to get that property ready to be rented. Now, you might then be thinking, well, I'm on a long-term mortgage now, so how does that work by trying to get some of that money back so I can go again? This lender also has the ability to release what's known as a further advance. So this is where you've got your normal mortgage term, and then you've got a separate loan that sits kind of attached to the main mortgage. Now, you can apply for these after having had the mortgage for 6 months. So long as you've added, a decent level of value, if the market's gone up, etc., their minimum loan size is normally publicised at 50,000, but I do have it on good authority that this lender will lend slightly less than that, and potentially quite a bit less. So again, if you've looked into this or you want to try and see how this works, make sure you reach out. Now, what about if you're a first-time investor? Like we said, how would this particular process work? Well, if you're a first-time investor with this particular lender, again, I have to be careful to say who it actually is, so I better not do that on a video. But technically speaking, there's several lenders in this particular field where their minimum requirement is that you own a property. So it might be that you own a residential home and this would be your first proper investment. Well, this lender would be happy to lend you on that basis, still with that 28 days to get things ready. If it's a bridging loan, then there are literally hundreds of bridging lenders that we work with that don't require you to have any experience and don't require you to have any prior ownership. So this is where it really is so important to work with a lender that understands those type of deals, but more importantly, to work with a broker that understands how to get you those type of funding deals. So lots of ways of doing it. Now, if you're buying a property as an investment, perhaps where you don't need to do any works, there are plenty of other lenders that will then be in the market to lend you on that basis as well. So, as a bit of a recap, you can use bridging finance to borrow money for the purchase of the property and also the works funds. There are also several mortgage lenders that will allow you to borrow money to buy the property. You can then do some certain level of works, as long as it's not too heavy, and then you've got the ability to take out a further advance on that mortgage to get some of that money back to go again. Personally, I think if you're doing the BRR, Refurbish Refinance or the BRR method, it makes more sense to buy with a bridging loan or with cash, which, let's be honest, cash is the cheapest option out of all of these. And then once all the works are done, we have a bit of a process so that you can remortgage it at a certain point, and then you can take that money out to move on and clear an existing debt. Now, one other thing that comes up as part of this is what happens if you have to remortgage that property inside of the 6 months of ownership window. Now, this is where a lot of people get a bit confused. There's lots of different advice and different thought processes on this. But the beauty is, if you're looking to buy a property, you get the works done quickly, then you need to go and remortgage it. There are loads of lenders that allow what we would call a day one remortgage. Now, this is where you're refinancing the property inside of that 6 month window. Now, there are quite a few of these that you can have access to. Again, working with a good broker means that you've got good access to the lenders that will do everything in that field. So it's well worth exploring this. But a day one remortgage doesn't necessarily become more expensive. It just means that there's only a certain level of lenders that will lend inside of that 6 month window. The other option, if you're just close to that 6 month part, then there are plenty of lenders. Let's say you were ready to refinance at month 5 of owning a property. Well, at that stage, you've got access to lenders where they'd say, look, we know you've only had it 5 months. We won't allow lending until you've owned it for 6 months. So get the application in, get everything together, but we can't complete on your mortgage until the 6 months of ownership is up. That's fine. So basically, you've got access to all of the lenders that will work in that field and all the lenders that will work where they perhaps don't offer a day one remortgage. There's lots of ways of making this come together. So I hope you found that useful. It's a bit of a generalised insight into the buy, refurbish, refinance method. Remember to look out for people like Harvey at Growth Properties. Also remember to check out this coffee. It's so good. And if you are looking for a subscription coffee, I think Dark Hearts are probably one of the few at the moment that are consistently great as time goes on. I've always enjoyed them, and I don't know what I'd do without the subscription personally. But keep enjoying your coffee. Let us know how you're getting on with your property portfolio. Actually, let us know how you're getting on with this coffee as well. And we look forward to seeing you again in the next video next week. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Take care.